This episode is brought to you by Peak, the blockchain for real-world applications and home of DePIN. If you think it's time for Web3 to get real, check out their website at peak.network. That's peaq.network.
Hello everyone, Daniel from depinhub over here, and today we are in another episode from Hong Kong after Web3 Festival. It's been a pleasure being in this amazing city, and today we have Henry with us from HashKey Capital. He's like a research manager at the fund. I always love to talk to founders, deployers, investors, and everyone that's in the DePIN ecosystem. So Henry, thanks so much for joining the podcast today. It's a pleasure to have you. Can you start by introducing yourself? How did you end up as a VC person?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me, Daniel. It's an absolute pleasure to be on the top DePIN podcast in the world. So with a DePIN OG, right? You have been around the DePIN space way longer than me. So I started playing around a little bit with crypto, with Bitcoin back in 2013. I started to mine Bitcoin, but then unfortunately, I was living back in Portugal and the electricity bill went up quite a lot. And for 2 months, I paid like 250 euros worth of electricity. And I thought, it's not worth to mine Bitcoin. I'm going to give up on this. And I wish I didn't give up, of course, but then 2015 I came back with doing a lot of OTC trading, but only 2017 I started to work full-time in the crypto space when the ICO phase came, right? Then during the bear market, I went to work at HSBC, where I was a project manager implementing blockchain applications for commercial banking, mostly in trade finance. Trade finance, it's a very interesting use case for blockchain applications. And then 2.5 years ago, I joined HashKey Capital as part of the research team. So HashKey Capital is one of the leading VCs, especially in Asia. So far, we have invested in 330 projects. And basically, my job is basically to talk with projects and do also a lot of research work, sector research, including the DePIN report that is coming out like very soon.
Yes. Check out. We're going to put the link for the report on the podcast if it's out by the time we release the episode. Yeah, that's very interesting. I think you also lived in so many different countries, right? Henry also comes from Lisbon, the city that most of the Hotspotty team is located as well. So it's very interesting, very coincidence now that we're here in Hong Kong and, almost like a brother coming here. Yeah, it's very interesting to your story. Like, how many countries did you live before? Like, I guess you've been following more or less crypto, but from different countries.
Yeah, so it was born and raised in Lisbon, then 2014 Angola, 2015 Dubai, 2016 I came back to Portugal, 17 Italy, and since late 2017 Hong Kong.
Wow. It's quite some time in Hong Kong as well, right?
Yeah, 6.5 years, almost
nice.
Getting close to 7 years.
And then HashKey. Yeah, no, HashKey's, we listen a lot about them. Like, I really like how HashKey's been very strong in the crypto space in Asia and trying to broaden that even more. Can you elaborate a little bit on the thesis about DePIN that HashKey has? How interesting does you and then the team think about this?
Great question. So I think generally speaking, the HashKey Capital thesis is like a research-driven investment thesis. So we don't have like a fixed thesis, right? Many VCs, you can go to the website and read their investment thesis. But in our case, I think like high level, most of the projects where we invest are seed stage, meaning that they are already developing the product or already have a product developed. Maybe they don't have customers or they just tested the product with a handful of customers and they are ready to start growing. So basically, I think we can say that 70% of our investments are seed stage. Then we have also a little bit of pre-seed, Series A, Series B, which are more like growth stage. And we invest pretty much in all the sectors, not only DePIN, but also DeFi, CeFi, scalability, layer 2s, gaming, pretty much a bit of everything, social-fi. But DePIN, to be honest, is something that has been exciting me a lot. I think, why DePIN? Because it can literally be a multi-trillion-dollar market, right? It can be a huge market.
Absolutely. Just listen to what he's talking, what he was saying, yeah.
It can be multi-trillion-dollar market because you can literally tokenize everything, especially tokenizing machines. Kind of the way I see it is, if you can tokenize every kind of machine that you have, robotics, industrial equipment, solar panels, batteries, charging stations, cars. You can allow these machines to talk to each other, make payments between each other, exchange data between each other, train AI models, and be rewarded for that. Because at the moment, all these machines are in silos, right? They don't talk with each other, or the integrations are very hard to do. They cannot make payments to each other. They always need to go through a middleman or some time gap for a payment to happen. But if you can give an identity and a wallet to these machines, you can now allow them to make payments, exchange data, learn with each other, interact with each other. And the more these machines are tokenized, the more automation we can get, right? I think it's really possible that in the future we see, people can create a DAO, and this DAO is going to own 100 car sharing Tesla, and these cars have an identity on the blockchain and can automatically make a payment to the charging station. And once you have full-blown self-driving cars, these cars can drive themselves to the car shop and fix it and pay for the whatever
repair,
for the repair. And everything will happen through DePIN chains. So it's like a huge market. The sky's the limit. Like I get so excited talking about this.
Yeah, man, I think I found someone that's as excited as DePIN as me when I'm talking about this thing, because you can really see the vision, right? Like it's like, Helium started decentralized networks, but there's so many more things that can happen from that. We're so early. There's so much work to be done. Like the potential is so massive. And particularly for me and for Hotspot and depinhub, we really want to be in the core part of these things, connecting everybody together, connecting teams, investors, and being one of the core platforms that can allow these things to happen. Yeah, I mean, it's still very interesting to see, like, since when we started, let's say back in 2020, right? Around then there's like the last cycle. I think it was like kind of like the genesis of this idea of DePIN. I mean, there wasn't even the name before. Now again, like we're coming to Hong Kong for the Web3 festival and going soon to Token 2049. It's so interesting to see how many eyes are now into this DePIN, to the point that there are people just putting DePIN on their landing page. Projects have nothing to do with DePIN. They put DePIN because it's they want to try to build some sort of hype, right? So that means like, okay, we made it now. How do you see like the crypto environment for this year and next year growing now?
Yeah, like you said, like all these projects that have been around for many years and never used the name DePIN before, because I think the name was actually invented quite recently.
Yeah, it was last year. Yeah.
But now they are all rebranding and putting DePIN there to make sure that people go with the trend. Yeah,
I remember when Helium started, it was called DY, Decentralized Wireless, and I think Multicoin came with POPW, Proof of Physical Work. Lattice came with TPIN, Token Incentivized Physical Infrastructure, and then Masari came with DePIN, which in a lot of ways, I mean, it's just a name, right? Like there are a lot of people saying like maybe the name's going to change. I think at the end of the day, like it's the idea that it's building decentralized certain infrastructure. That's what we're trying to do. How do you see this like the next few years growing in this ecosystem?
Yeah, I think it will take time to get more traction because there is a gap really between the decentralized blockchain world and the physical infrastructure. And I guess we also need to get some regulatory clarity, because for certain projects, one of the advantages of DePIN is that you can eventually get on-chain cash flow, on-chain revenue, right, that is generated from these physical networks. And the token holders can get automatically paid for that. So that's an amazing advantage of DePIN, but at the same time, it brings like some regulatory barriers, right? Because according to some regulations, then this is considered a security token. If it is a security token, you can eventually only offer it to accredited investors, and it's a bit harder for retail users to have access to it in certain cases. So probably the mass adoption of DePIN will be a little bit slow, but it will definitely come. And I'm also super excited about robotics and humanoid robots, right? Some companies, including Tesla, are doing amazing progress in this area, and it's likely that within a few years we'll have millions of humanoid robots out there, right? And once you ask your humanoid robots to go shopping for you, probably it will be nice if it has like an identity on the blockchain and can automate the payments. So that's a very interesting use case. But now, more short term, I think within the next year or so, we will see a lot of new innovation and a lot of bootstrapping of new DePIN use cases. We see over the last 1 year or so new use cases in the market. And I think we also see new infrastructure that is allowing for these projects and use cases to develop, for the developers to develop, including, for example, Peak and Tile. Tile is a little bit earlier, but Peak is going live with their mainnet, I think within a few weeks, probably after the podcast is launched or very soon after the podcast is live. And basically you can, if you are a developer and you want to tokenize a camera, a sensor, a car, you can use it. You can do it using the Peak network. You can actually already do it on the Kusama testnet, which is called Crest. But we will see more and more use cases, and people will want to participate in these use cases because now we are in a bull market, and I think people are very hungry for use cases that provide real revenue, right? Nowadays, you have tons of on-chain profits or on-chain yields that comes just from the fact that you have meme coins and you can do some farming on DEXs, on DeFi, and some lending and borrowing. But people often question, like, is this real yield or not, right? And at the moment, most of the real yields that you have on-chain comes more from the tokenization, RWA tokenization of treasury bills and things like that. But if instead of treasury bills, if you can tokenize real businesses, right, like a fleet of cars or a solar panel or a charging station, then you can bring on-chain like real revenue generating stuff that truly brings intrinsic value for these decentralized networks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think like DeFi was a very good start in this sense, but it's just money moving, money making money, right? Like a lot of shenanigans happen that sometimes they don't know what's happening in the back end. While in DePIN is actually providing real utility, and people are going to be spending actual money that's going to be injected in those projects and again distributed to people developing the networks. There's a project called Frodobots that they were doing little like small delivery cars that they started like a gamification project that, let's say, this little robot. I think here in Asia we have a lot of them that, you know, like in the hotels, they deliver, like they go to your room, ask if you want to be clean your room. So the idea with them is that you're going to put, like, let's say, a piece of Uber Eats on top. Instead of Uber Eats, like, let's say Frodo Eats. You put some food on top of them. But instead of them doing automatically delivering, someone is behind them with, like, looking at the camera and controlling as a game. Like, oh, I need to go from point A to B. That person's going to be, like, managing the car up to the delivery location. And with that, they're going to be, like, actually learning a lot of information that's happening with the streets, like training a lot of data with that. And that's, like I said, like, you have delivery. There's so many cool things.
Amazing gamification. Combining the gamification part.
The amount, and like I said, we're still early. The amount of new projects that are going to come out in the next couple of years is ridiculous. I'm super excited to see that.
Peak is a layer 1 blockchain designed to power DePINs. Why do DePINs choose to build on Peak? It's fast, scalable, low cost, offer builders are ready to deploy DePIN SDK, and is multi-chain. So when you build on Peak, you're building for all Web3. Peak is home for the fastest growing DePIN projects, with more than 100,000 vehicles and devices deployed, over a dozen DePINs already building, and the world-leading device manufacturers such as Boss partner with them. Think of building a DePIN? Peak has a grant program for DePIN builders. If you're listening to this, remember, you're early. The Peak network will launch in the first half of 2024. Check out Peak's channels for more details and links in the podcast description.
What other use cases are you is there any edge use case that you think it's interesting?
Edge use case, there's so many. There's one that they're trying to people install these cameras in people's like in the backyards, and they're tracking like the stars, and they're trying to find like ETs, like extraterrestrial life or
That's
something.
interesting.
It's this like I'll put the link on the description. I don't remember the name right now. I mean, there's some also that people like driving or piloting drones to record locations, and then you can buy that data if you want. I mean, there's so many. If you go to depinhub, for example,
That's super interesting.
you go to depinhub, you can just check the list of project there. We're adding almost like one project every other day, so there's a lot of new projects coming up. They always come like, okay, how can we get listed in your platform? And then I usually do like a quick intro with the project to try to understand and make sure they're legit as well. Because I think that's another thing, right? Like, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of projects that try to jump on the bandwagon and profit from that. So we try to help our users, at least with our competence, to try to figure out if that's a useful project or not. I mean, there's so many interesting different ones, right? Because like IoT wireless networks, that's one of the earliest ones. Decentralized storage, the one that like there are a lot of them coming now. Filecoin is like one of the biggest. Storj we had in the podcast a few weeks ago. That was very interesting as well. I mean, there's so many projects and many more just starting, right? There's this company from Spain called Aquasave. What they're trying to do is like they have this tool. You turn on your shower. It's going to take, I don't know, like a minute for the hot water to come, and you're going to be just wasting this water. So what they do, they have like a closed loop for this water to go into the pipes, and then when it reaches the temperature that you predefined, then it's going to open the valves and going to have water coming out of the shower. So this way you're going to save a lot of water. I think they're going to use a lot of sensors in the machine. They're going to collect data from water quality and other things. And I mean, there's like, like very, very different kinds of use cases, and all those use cases are actually quite interesting, at least for me.
Yeah. The thing about these use cases is that they truly help to change the world for the better, right? And you're just talking about the drone use case. I really want to see if there is any or anyone planning to do like a drone DePIN project for smart agriculture, because at the moment, for example, companies like John Deere, they have been trying to implement smart agriculture, but it's more like with satellite images that are not really up to date. But what if you have like a SaaS model, a DePIN SaaS model, where you can go with drones and map the farmers, crops, understand the quality of the soil, the size of the crops, the humidity, this and that, like all these data. And this data can be used to improve their agricultural process and more efficient agriculture.
I'm trying to remember the name of the project. I think it's Pexigon. I think the one that they're doing like the decentralized drone. I mean, there's so many. It's super, super cool. And I like the position that we are right now, that so many projects come to us to get listed in the platform. So I kind of end up like getting to know the project as soon as they're starting. And I think DePIN is a narrative that can really bring a lot of new eyes into crypto. Also bring not transparency, but there's a lot of people who think that crypto is only gambling, is a bad thing. Like for example, China, you're not allowed to talk about the word crypto, right? But maybe there are going to be projects in the future that they can actually see the value of rewarding users and the community for deploying the infrastructure. That's not gambling. It's like, or gambling is seen as a gambling. So I think that's a narrative that I really, really believe in.
Yeah, and you just touched the word transparency, which is super important. I think it's one of the biggest values that DePIN brings to the market, right? And actually, I only start thinking about transparency when I had a conversation with Leo Lin.
He's here somewhere.
and while talking with Leo, he was very excited about the transparency thing, because imagine transparency for the token holder in this case. Because imagine if you are a shareholder of a company like Uber, for you to understand the revenue and the bottom line of the company, you need to always wait until the end of the quarter for the quarterly report or annual report. You need to trust that the accountants and the auditors did a good job. Not always, right? We had huge cases of fraud in the past. But with the DePIN project like eLoop, which is like this tokenized car sharing network, you see real time what's happening, right? You see real time the revenue, the payments and everything. So it's 100% fraud proof,
Yeah.
100% transparent, 100% real time, and that has pure value for the network.
Like the famous phrase, right? Don't trust, verify.
Yeah.
Like all the Bitcoin users out there is like a big one. From the HashKey perspective, like, or from your side as well, what kind of advice would you tell DePIN founders or people who are starting DePIN projects and they want to try to look for capital? What are the advice that you give them if it was you, for example, starting a project?
Okay, awesome. Great question. Okay, so if it was me, I would say, okay, most of the VCs, at least more like tier one VCs, they prefer to invest in projects that can demonstrate already something, right? Or that have some traction. They already found their product market fit and they can prove that at least some users or some customers might be interested in the product. So I would say develop the product, test it in the market, get a little bit of traction, and then go and talk with the VCs. When approaching VCs, I think there is also kind of a strategy that you can use. I would say build a very beautiful and visually attractive deck. That will be like one of the first points. I know it sounds something very basic, but it's very important. And a deck that where whoever is reading the deck can in 30 seconds understand very well, or in 10 seconds actually, understand very well what the product is about. Because many times I'm reading these decks that many startups send to us, and you really have a hard time to understand what the product is about. So it needs to be very interesting, very visually attractive, so that you can put the foot on the door and get the initial attention. Also start by, pitching your family and friends, angel investors, then go to tier 2 VCs and then tier 1 VCs. Don't spend all your bullets first with tier 1 VCs, because your pitch will improve with time, of course.
Absolutely.
And after doing it for 10, 20, 30 times, you'll be like super pro pitching your project. Other things, I don't know, in terms of fundraising, only fundraise what you really need.
Yeah.
And otherwise you'll be giving away more equity than actually you need, because at the moment we are in the bull market and there is always the temptation of fundraising more than actually you need. But try to target maybe 18, 20 months of runway. So if you are spending $100,000 a month, $2 million will be probably a good number to fundraise at the moment.
And how would you, like you were saying, a lot of times people use the pitch deck to get the foot in the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're ready to have the foot in the door, how important do you think is the deck? Like, let's say I have a VC that I'm already talking to them for a while. Sometimes the person already know the founder, but sometimes the deck's not perfect. Of course, they can give a feedback. If you already know the founder, know the product, the deck shouldn't really matter that much, I think, right?
Yeah, totally. And always try to use your network. And if you have some VC friends, ask for introductions. That will be a great way to start, of course.
Yeah.
But if it is like a kind of cold outreach.
Yeah, no, it's really hard. I can also imagine VCs, especially like tier 1, like HashKey, it must receive so much, like so many decks all the time. You need to have someone that sparks the joy a little bit to get the conversation started.
Yeah,
no?
and the team, most VCs have a fairly small team. And now during a bull market, it can be, it's dozens of new projects every week. So it's sometimes a little bit
crazy, very
overwhelming.
busy. Yeah. Like HashKey is very, very strong in Asia, right? Singapore, I think Hong Kong and this region. What are the plans? I could be completely wrong, but what are the plans of expanding towards like Europe, North America, South America? Is there anything happening there?
Oh, great question. So HashKey Capital, we're actually a global VC.
Okay.
I think, I don't have an exact percentage, but probably 50% of our investments are in North America.
Okay.
And maybe 40% in Asia, and the rest Europe, Africa, and Latin America. So at the moment, most of our team is divided between Hong Kong and Singapore. We also have 2 people in the US, but we invest pretty much globally. It doesn't matter the location of the project. And anyway, these days, most crypto projects are kind of decentralized, right? The team is working remotely from 10 different countries. So yeah, in terms of, in that aspect, we invest globally. Within the HashKey group, we have other business lines that some of them have more like different geographies. Within the HashKey group, we have also the Hong Kong exchange that is regulated by the SFC.
And there was like some big announcements like yesterday, right? So
yeah, so a few days ago or yesterday, they announced the global exchange. So HashKey will launch a global exchange that is licensed in the Bermuda, and it really aims to bring the best of, let's say, the best of Coinbase from the regulatory perspective and safety, with the best of Binance in terms of user experience. Wow. And it's going to be able to list any tokens. So the goal is to have a large variety of tokens, unlike the Hong Kong exchange, because of it's regulated by the FCC. At the moment, we can only have like Bitcoin and ETH, and that's it. But the global exchange will have way more tokens, and hopefully also a lot of DePIN tokens.
Yes, no, we can definitely help bring a lot of people to the exchange.
Yeah, we also have a launch pad where you can put new DePIN projects.
Yeah, let's work together in that. Also, we are working on having our own token as well in the near future, so that's going to be a big one. Watch out, Binance and Coinbase, HashKey is coming for you. No, I think it's very interesting to see the way that you guys are growing. Like, I've been following HashKey for quite some time as well. Yeah, like I would love to partner and grow the DePIN narrative alongside HashKey as well, because I think you guys are very, very focused on so many good things, and it's been really cool to see, like, first the small like exchange was just like Bitcoin and Ethereum, like you were saying, and now going to the kill, for the kill, right, and the global exchange. I think it's very interesting. For the listeners, where can they get to know more about HashKey, you, and the global exchange? I think that's a good one to announce on the podcast.
Oh yeah, Daniel, thank you so much. So to learn more about HashKey, I think you can check the HashKey Capital website and HashKey Twitter and social media. I think if you just Google search HashKey Capital, it will be easy to find. To find out about me, also just Google search my name. You'll also find a lot of educational content, because I also teach. I create courses about crypto, about blockchain. I didn't create a course yet about DePIN, but maybe we can work on that together. Yeah. And that's
awesome. We're gonna put all the links for HashKey, for Henry as well, on the description on this podcast. You can check it out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you listen to. And yeah, make sure to follow us. We really need that support to continue providing really good content, bring great guests like Henry today. And yeah, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter as well. Mm-hmm. And I really advise everyone to invite their friends and family using the referral code that you get from that as well. Yeah, thanks so much, everyone, and see you on the next episode. Cheers, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Daniel.